The Pearl Hypothesis, written by Richard C. Matskin, M.D. The following is all anecdotal. Street people are generally aware, if an opinion is expressed, that it is not uncommon for IV drug abusers to develop skin abscesses in unused locations, i.e., non-injection sites, for years after totally being off IV drugs. The explanation for this, according to Street Talk and some ER medical staff, is the use of dirtying needles and lack of sterile technique. Certainly this is a source for abscess formation at or near injection sites, and this can develop weeks or possibly months after the last injection. I am not convinced that this is a complete picture as to the etiology for abscess formation years after IV discontinuation. Without relying on established medical or clinical documentation, I would like to propose an alternative basis. In the natural world, we are familiar with the process involved for a pearl to form inside an oyster. Sand can cause sufficient irritation to initiate the process, resulting in the formation of a pearl, i.e. a core, and I believe a similar process is the etiology of abscess formation in non-used injection sites in long-term discontinued IV drug junkies. Although there are cultural and social aspects at play with the use of street IV drugs, three rules still apply in regards to the chemistry and physiology of any drug, and that is, number one, what drug or drugs are being ingested. Two, the way they are being used, meaning the route of ingestion, IV, IM, inhaled, oral, etc. And three, how is it done? Or how the mechanical aspects of ingestion. Number one and number two are straightforward. Number three, the how is being done, refers to the actual technique or physical putting of the drug into the body. This is affected by many aspects, but for the majority of common IV drug abusers, the physical process is much of a learned process passed from person to person, user to user. Therefore, many of the techniques or actual physical manipulations of the injection process are the same for each user. Street IV drug abuse commonly follow a three-phase action. 1. Tie off. 2. Inject. 3. Plunge. I believe the etiology of abscess formation in long-term clean IV users is because of the street techniques that are commonly used as a result of the learned process of the street. This paper is putting forth the concept that long-term abscess formation is the human form of nature's pearl formation. An accumulation of necrotic tissue gets lodged or embedded in a capillary vessel, and this is the origin, the core of an abscess. In viewing the three components as listed above, there are no shortage of contributory possibilities for the generative source of necrotic tissue. 1. The tie-off. Much like the reason for abusing drug, any reason or excuse will do. This way of thinking, easiest access, will provide the tourniquet, i.e. shoelace. Not only is the coarse, thin, cutting nature of this material contributory to necrotic tissue formation, if a person misses with an injection attempt, the tourniquet is often loosened and retightened. Adding to the cellular trauma is the fact that a great number of abusers leave the tourniquet tied off throughout the whole time until phase 2 and phase 3 are complete. 2. Inject. This phase involves the actual penetration of the needle into the skin, usually being propelled by a slight tap of the index finger to the top of the syringe plunger. If no, quote, flashback of blood occurs, the needle is pulled out and a different site is punctured. However, with regard to the creation of cellular necrotic material, the third phase is what I believe to be the source of the greatest amount of tissue debris. The plunge or pushing of the syringe contents is subjected to an in and out piston action, commonly referred to as boosting. This in and out action is done multiple times and can extend by minutes the total duration of this phase. The resulting shower of tissue debris traveling down results in enlargement and accumulation in capillary locations. With this repetition and time offers many sites for a core to generate into an abscess. The implication of this hypothesis is it's not the use of dirty needles as the etiology for abscess formation years after discontinuation. Rather, the street technique itself is the source for downstream unused locations to develop abscesses. Unfortunately, the solution for this complication is one of education. Simple cartoon panels using characters and balloon dialogue can easily demonstrate the abscess-causing nature of the street IV technique. Widespread dissemination of this information can be achieved by posting these comic strips on bulletin boards in urban mom-and-pop convenience stores or neighborhood signs and telephone poles. I believe, however, that this approach is complicated by the cultural, social, and legal ramifications. I feel that no matter how successful a comic book type education may be in the reduction of long-term abscess formation, the establishment reaction would be one that would view this only as another enabling act in the street drug abuse problem, not as a consideration to treat an aspect of the overall medical disease of IV street drug abuse. Signed, Richard C. Manskin, and I wrote it on 3/17/2015, but today's today. I'm done. Just close the top.